Take two.
Okay.
Hello everyone, I'm very glad here with Dave Kerzner. Finally we have met. Now he's visiting Mexico, but the idea of this is okay, hold on. Muy rápido, very fast. Okay. Hello everyone, I'm very glad here with Mr. Dave Kerzner. Finally, Dave Kerzner has come to Mexico, and well, we are very glad to talk about your new album, to talk about your projects, to talk about a lot of things. So, welcome again, welcome
Thank
to
you.
Mexico.
Great to be here.
How many times have you been here?
I've been here a few times.
Yes?
Yeah, this is maybe my third time.
So, you may be very familiar with tacos, with cocoa water.
Yeah, cocoa water. I love the food here, and I like tostada de quesón. Actually, I haven't tried that one yet, but pulpo and camarones, and I like the variety. Al pastor.
Okay, perfect. So you know Mexican food, and
yes.
that's very good.
The real Mexican food.
The real
because
Mexican
in the United
food.
States it's different. The tacos aren't. There's not as much variety, and it's not the same.
Yes, I know.
The real thing.
I know. Yes, even it's better to taste it here.
Yeah.
Instead of tasting in other countries. So very glad to have you here, and well, let's talk about your new album. What is the background of New World? What is beyond what we are seeing in this New World album compilation and all the songs that I know that you have been working a lot and well, we have met in our first interview in about 2 months ago or something like that. And I know that you have been trying to catch the feeling in each of these songs, and each song has a very long history. So tell me what happened in the backyard of this new album.
Well, this is my first solo album where I'm singing lead, and I've for years I've been a musician, a songwriter, a producer. I've been in the background, a keyboard player, And I enjoy that a lot, actually, and I still do that, but I think it's something that's been building for a long time to be the artist as opposed to the one sort of, behind the artist and doing those sort of things. So I came out front, and I was never sure if I was ever really going to do it. It's just something that was a dream of mine, and I felt compelled to do it. I was in a band called Sound of Contact, as you know, yes. And we had a record out the previous year, and it was very well received. This band's called Sound of Contact, the album's Dimension on, and but we split up, and I was very anxious to follow up with new music because I had written a lot of the music on Dimension on. So I thought, well, I'm not going to stop now, so it was better to be self-reliant and have it just be, me as the artist, and I could do anything I wanted. And so with that, I did a very long, elaborate album, a concept album, and I recruited some of my favorite musicians. Being a solo artist, I could work with different people per song, so I casted them like a director would in a film. Like, this person would be great for this song, and that person would be great for that song. So that's how it all came together.
Perfect. Yes, and actually talking about your Sound of Contact experience, I'm very glad to tell you that I have found your album here in Mexico. It is great. Not so easy to find, but it's a very good album, I can tell you that it has parts of music that take you to maybe Genesis and maybe a mixture with Pink Floyd, and then you got a little bit of Steve Hackett. So it's a lot of how do you say that, basics from progressive rock, mm-hmm. but in a new manner. So what about the current musicians? What is your opinion about the current situation of the music in the world? For example, I would say that there are some kind of music, like for example pop music, that has been always evolving and it's always trying to adapt into this young market. But what about the people that like progressive rock, people that like rock as itself? I see that there are not so many options. What do you think about that? Maybe that's my perception.
Well, I think that in terms of the the pop music scene, I'm not very pleased with what's out there these days. It's become kind of homogenized, a little bit generic.
Mm-hmm.
And even certain bands that I like, such as, let's say, Coldplay, their latest single sounds like every other song to me. So I'm kind of disappointed, to be honest. I expect more, but some of these bands, Muse, Radiohead, but some of the earlier albums are better. I think the music that I'm interested in that kind of expands and gets creative is coming from certain progressive rock bands that are a little bit more in the prog scene and lesser known by the mainstream. Bands like Spock's Beard or Big Big Train I like a lot. Marillion has their own sort of following, but they do great stuff, and it's still very creative, very musical. And so I think you have to look for it. But in the progressive rock scene, IQ just has a new album. They're very good. Fractal Mirror. I mean, once you dig in, there's actually a lot of great music still being made of that style. But one of my goals has been, ever since I was with Sound of Contact and also on my solo, is I like to blend the old with the new.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the classic progressive rock influence from Pink Floyd and Genesis and Yes, and using some of the old instruments, vintage instruments, and that sound with something very modern. So that it sounds like some certain songs you could hear on the radio. They're not so, you know, progressive, esoteric, like this is, you know, okay, that's that music. It's because certain bands like Pink Floyd and Genesis also were, and Yes actually, were successful in reaching the mainstream audience, and they used to do these big concerts and everything, and it reached a lot of people. I mean, Dark Side of the Moon is one of the best-selling rock albums of all time. So, yet it's progressive. So, to me, it's like, that's what I want to see happen again, is a revival of progressive rock in the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And so, my approach to doing my part in that, is to combine those sounds of the today, very modern, you know, alt rock and, you know, that kind of sound, with longer pieces, some classical influence, some of the things that progressive rock is known for, and just kind of make it more accessible, right, to newer generations as well.
Right, and you mentioned something very important. Recently, well, New World is coming right now in November, so recently also in November, I think, or I would say that December 2014, Pink Floyd ex-member David Gilmour commented that Pink Floyd was dead. Yeah. So this is, I would say that this is a coincidence on this old school progressive rock that is maybe not dying, but it's getting into the classical or to another like a kind of immortality stage, right? Mm-hmm. Because it becomes classical music. But right now that those old school members like David Gilmour or I would say maybe Steve Hackett also are becoming more and more away from the music stream or the mainstream. This is a great opportunity to get into this new generation, right? This is a new opportunity to get these new people that have not been familiar with these guys even. So I would see that, for example, taking, as you mentioned, these parts of old music, there is an example that I want to take. Which is the song that I would say that is, if I'm not wrong, Crossing of Fates, that includes Emerson, Lake and Palmer synthesizer?
Yeah, Keith Emerson's modular Moog synthesizer.
Yes, I saw a couple of videos of you in YouTube with him.
Yeah.
And I would say that this is something that brought me to my early beginnings with the music, when the people starts to discover this kind of music, and then after, if you see this included in a new song, this is what motivates to listen a new album like this. So part of getting or listening your new album is this. Is not the nostalgic part of listening what is already out of the mainstream, but is getting these old elements mixed with the new elements, as you have mentioned. So for example, we were commenting